65 podcast for the Field of 68 Network. We're excited today to be joined by Terrance Thomas. Terrance is kind of regarded as a Baylor hero around the men's basketball program. He was on the very first team under head coach Scott Drew. Terrance had been at Baylor a year before after transferring from Lawnmowers Community College, played for Dave Bliss for a year, and then was there for that big transition when Scott Drew took over. Terrance, first of all, thanks for joining us. Did you catch the big Kansas game on Monday night, the big win over the Jayhawks? I know you keep tabs of the program closely.
Absolutely, and thank you guys for having me. Yeah, I had to check my guys out.
What do you think of these guys so far? That they're playing pretty well, aren't they?
Yeah, we look really good. I like Maceo T. Of course, Mark Vita is my favorite player, and Matthew Meyer. So Jared Butler is doing what he was doing. Of course, Scott Drew always got great guard. So I love our guard play.
Yeah. When you're watching these games, do you kind of have to be in private at home so you can really delve in and no one can break your concentration? What's your game day routine like when Baylor's playing?
If I'm not playing a little pickup ball myself, I always got to record the games. And my fiance, she's up on Baylor now. She got the Baylor gear. My daughter, she's 1 in 5-6 months, and she got the Baylor gear, so we all locked in.
Are you still living in Dallas? I know you went to Maceo Smith High School here. Is Dallas still your home?
Actually, I'm in Houston at the moment.
Okay. Living down
so
there.
I moved to Houston about 3 years ago.
Okay. What are you doing these days? Besides playing a lot of pickup ball, I'm sure still.
Yeah, I'm training kids, and I'm coaching the AAU team coming up this summer, a 9th grade group. So I'm just trying to give back as much as I can.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Ashley, what do you want to ask Terrance here?
So I want to just hear about your professional career. I mean, you were a world traveler. I know you went to some places in Europe. You've been to Latin America. You played in the United States. So what was that like? And maybe talk about a few favorite stops along the way and any stories that stick out on your journey.
My favorite country that I ever played in was Germany by far. So Germany was great. As far as just the living arrangements, it was Americanized. The competition was great. And a funny story that I got, I always got to revert back to the time I played in Latvia, which was close to Russia, actually. It's in Lithuania, too. So it was just one of those times to where it was snow so much that, we wasn't used to the snow, especially coming from where we were coming from. And so we were on our way from practice coming from out of town, a couple of my teammates and I. And so the roads were so icy to where we veered off the road and the car did like some spinning 360s, and I thought we was going to die that day. I honestly thought we was going to die that day.
But you didn't hit anybody. I mean, that turned out.
We didn't hit anybody. We
Yeah.
didn't hit anybody. And we still made the practice on time.
That's awesome. And so when you finished your career in Chile, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Some of the best times I ever had in Chile. I miss Chile.
Awesome.
Why do you miss it? What was good about that country?
I was 37. I had a bad back. My knee was, I was just old age was catching up to me, man. And a lot of icy hot, a lot of ice, man. But I played extremely hard, and we won a lot of games over there too, actually. And the fans were just amazing. That's the best part about it. The fans were amazing.
What's it like socially when you're playing overseas? Because I know, on those teams, they only allow a certain amount of American players. So you're having to get to know guys that might not speak English quite as well. Do you still have a good time away from the court, or is it just kind of basketball, go home every day?
It's similar to that, basketball and go home, but you got to make a life out of it. You just can't, because you'll go crazy. You have to do something to keep your mind occupied. So I kind of picked up on Spanish a little bit. I tried different foods. And I got along with my teammates, and it was that time in Chile was amazing.
Is there a certain type of food that you found overseas in any of your stops that you liked that you probably would have never eaten here in the United States?
I never was a sushi guy. And I finally tried sushi overseas, and I liked it. Sushi was okay.
Yeah. I'm growing on me too. Well, looking at your Baylor career, before we get into the Scott Drew era and your experiences with him, I just want to know what it was like when you played that year for Dave Bliss and when you arrived in Waco. I mean, obviously there was a lot of really good players on that team. Just tell us about that year and kind of the vibe around the program at that time.
Coming from JUCO, I had a lot of success in junior college. So in my mind, I was like, the transition wasn't going to be too hard. But I had a rude awakening. The game was so fast. It was physical. It was strategic. Everything was just structured. And I really wasn't used to playing that way. So just coming from junior college, the adjustment, by the time I got adjusted to it, it was a little bit too late. And plus, I blame myself for not taking conditioning as important as I should have.
The conditioning held you back. You didn't feel like you were in good enough shape, or
because you got to think, you got to go against Tony Allen, rest in peace, Andre Emmett. You have to go against, all these guys, Ricky Parton from Missouri. You got to go against all these 2s and 3s that's strong and athletic and quick. And I had the strength, but I didn't have the conditioning part down. And so that's what really hurt me.
Right. Now at that time, unless I'm mistaken, Baylor had Lawrence Roberts on that squad, and John Lucas was the point guard. Kenny Taylor, really good scorer, shooting guard. Was there an era around the program or a vibe around the program that you guys really had something special building there at that time?
Absolutely. We definitely thought the class that we had coming in with myself and Ellis Kidd Jr. and some more guys, Carlton Dawson. And so we were thinking NCAA the whole time, preseason and everything. So that team, if you look at that team on paper, we had a pretty good squad. We had a nice team.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at just 2 of those players went on to be conference players of the year in the Big 12, obviously John Lucas and Lawrence Roberts in the SEC. So I know that you've been an integral part of this program, and Matt Saman wrote a book about that next year, The Leftovers, and he talked about how you really changed the culture of Baylor basketball, and he really portrayed you as the hero. That it was your attitude, it was your commitment. I mean, obviously you took your lumps, you had some losses. I think you beat Iowa State, a pretty decent Iowa State team that year, and you swept A&M, which Baylor alums always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What was that like as just, the world around you's falling apart? Obviously there's a big scandal, new coach that you don't know comes in. What inside you, helped you embrace that, this is my opportunity to turn lemons into lemonade? I mean, what was your mindset like that next year?
When everything transpired and happened that summer, we all were crushed, but Matt Simon and myself, we were like, and RT Gwynn actually too, we just put our mind to it and was like, we only have 1 year. Let's just go out with a bang. Let's get in tip-top shape. Let's just go out swinging. And so when Coach Drew and the staff came in, that summertime and preseason, man, we worked so hard to get in shape, Matt Simon and myself. And it really paid off, as you see how we played the season. And we really grinded that summer. We really did. And so I appreciate Matt for the compliment also.
When it comes to being a leader, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but what kind of things did you have to do? You said you kind of took it upon yourself to do that. Like, what were little things you would do to kind of keep the attitudes up and everything?
Just trying to lead by example with putting up extra shots. And I commend John Lucas for that. Actually, I used to see him every single day after practice. He used to always put up extra shots. And so I just was wondering, why did he do that? And that's what pros do, are guys that want to be great. So we just started putting up extra shots, doing extra sprints, extra drills, and it paid off. Like you said, it's just the little things like that. And then coming in, you never knew what a scouting report is until Coach Drew's staff came in. And to go over the scouting report and know everything the opponent is doing, or, the schemes and everything, that's what the thing about the leadership came.
Yeah. Just to backtrack a little bit back to the Bliss era, because we're going to talk plenty about Drew, but just to kind of put that subject to bed, what was, when all that stuff started happening, after the season, and Patrick Dennehy was missing and then found dead, and Carlton Dotson obviously was arrested for the murder. What was that? It just seemed that was such chaos, and no one ever really stop to think about the guys that were still on the team and trying to decide what their futures were going to be like. And your life was kind of upended in certain ways. What was that like for you, just to kind of be in the middle of all that?
It was tough because it was unbelievable. As you know, it just was something that you never would imagine. Because you know, you're just hanging out with guys, lifting weights in the summertime, and a week later you find someone dead. So that was a rude awakening. And to just to be in that situation, and it just was so heartbreaking to just experience it, you know. So we had to just go through that. You never would imagine that you would go through that as a kid. We were always kids.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, just like you said, to put it to bed, I really was talking to Matt Simon about vouching for this. If the Baylor fans are listening, or if you can just spread the word, not being arrogant or cocky, but we was wondering, like, those guys that survived and went through that, we should really be in the Baylor Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just honestly think about it.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
We had 6 scholarship players. It was 6 scholarship players, and the rest was walk-ons.
Right.
Yep.
And we beat A&M twice. Remember that? We beat A&M twice.
Right.
We lost to Oklahoma State and Texas Tech at home, and they were ranked in the top 15.
Yeah.
Terrance, did you know those two guys very well? I mean, they'd only been there a year. Did you get to know them very well during that year?
We did, because you know we always around each other, from practice to study hall to the road to the hotel rooms, the bus. So you always with your teammates more than you with your family. So, and then actually I played against Carlton Dawson in junior college in the championship game to go to national. So you know I knew him pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about your experience playing for Dave Bliss? I mean, obviously his name really got drugged through the mud over a lot of that, but I mean, you've had a season with him that you probably had some good times. Are your memories of him fond? Or
it is. I had a grudge for a while because I felt like the system that I came from junior college to his system, it wasn't my type of basketball. But you know, I can accept that. At some point, I had to get over it and forgive him. But it was just hard to play in that system because I was used to just playing basketball, just you know, letting your creativity do the job. But he was a great coach, a great X's and O's guy. He was old school too, so you know we needed that. But I felt if he would have let us play a little bit with the team we had, we could have made a little more noise.
Right. So you're going through this terrible summer and everything's negative, and all of a sudden Scott Drew gets hired, and now, at least in some people's minds, you can kind of start moving forward, I guess, a little bit. Do you remember anything about his first meeting with the team? You know, he walks in, you're seeing him for the first time. What stood out? What did he do?
Yeah. That's another funny story because Matt Simon and myself and RT, we was like, this guy look our age. He looks just like us. He was just as young as us. So we had to adjust to that. But his energy was contagious. And you could tell it was genuine, and he just let us know, like, we have nothing to lose, guys. Let's just go out there and just play basketball. And let's prove some people wrong. So, and when he came in with the energy that he did, with the staff that he did, the whole Baylor Nation backed us up.
Right.
Terrance, I remember interviewing you a while back, and you told me a funny story. I can't remember the details specifically. Did it involve Tommy Swanson and having his fingers taped together?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's hear that story because it was hilarious. I want to hear this prank you guys pulled.
That's my boy too, and I was in his wedding, so that's my guy, Tommy Swanson. So it's his freshman year, and it's my junior year. So we were at Kansas State. You know, he's a freshman, so you're gonna do freshman things. So before the game, you know, we wasn't gonna play that much. So I don't know what made him do it, but he taped all his fingers together. So we were on the bench. We didn't see it. You know how Tim Brown from the Raiders, he used to tape his fingers?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like that. It was all taped together. So Coach Bliss just so happened to call his name. If you would have seen everybody's face when Coach Bliss called him to get in the game, oh my goodness, it was so funny.
So he had all four of his fingers just taped.
Yes, just like that. Yes. Yeah. Oh my! I killed him.
Yeah.
I killed him for that. But
so what?
Being a freshman.
Well, maybe I'm thinking, was there another story, something about being on a balcony? Did you a story where you pulled a prank on somebody? maybe one of your teammates? Do you recall that? Like being over like in Hawaii or something, maybe.
I know we put a few pranks in Hawaii, but I don't even remember.
Okay. It was probably 6-7 years ago when you told me this. So
I remember Hawaii a little bit though.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you one more question, then I'll turn it to Jason again. But the culture that you've created is a big part because you came back every summer and you're playing professional basketball. You spend a lot of your summers in Waco, and I know you just invested a lot of the time with the new players. And I went to a lot of those, pickup games during the summer and watched you all play. I would say you had a PhD in trash talk. I mean, you were very good at, making sure you set the tone right, with the younger guys. But you could tell you really cared about them, and you really cared about making sure that they knew that they were about the right things, that each one teach one type of mindset. Talk about that. How important was it to you to really help build this program and invest in these guys that came up after you?
It was very important because you have to realize we are representing Baylor, the former players, the guys that played under Coach Drew. So when you come back, you have to let them know. You have to honestly tell them the truth, because the coaches probably can tell them the truth, but former players, being basketball players, you can tell them the truth about what's going to happen or things that's going to go on in the program or on the court. So, just being one of the oldest guys to come back, I just have to stay on them and let them know mentally what they have to go through. Especially one of the best stories I ever told. I got under a lot of guys' skin, but one of the times I got under Mark Vital's skin coming in his freshman year, he wanted to beat me up that day, but he had to respect it because everything is coming true right now. And I just had to let him know he wasn't going to be one and done. So I wanted him to get that out of his mind because to be one and done to go to the NBA, you have to be able to do a lot of things. He was just, at that time, he was just a dunker coming out of high school. But I had to just give him the honest truth, and it paid off.
How did that happen, Terrance? Were you playing pickup ball with him and he was getting kind of cocky, or can you tell us how that unfolded?
Because as being an old man, anything like Kevin Garnett, it has to just, any little irritation just have to push your buttons. So when we were playing pickup, he just came in with so much hype, and I didn't want him to get disappointed. So I had to just tell him the truth. And plus, he was a little arrogant, and that's what really made me mad. And he was just too arrogant for me. So I just had to set him straight. But that's one of my favorite players of all time in the Baylor program, though.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite players too, if not my favorite of all time. But tell me why you like him so much. It's kind of fun because we've seen him mature and grow from year to year, right? I mean, you remember the arrogant kid as a freshman, and now look at him now. It's been kind of neat to watch. What do you like about it the most?
And if an NBA team don't pick him up, they're really gonna be cheating their franchise because he's not gonna wire you with no handles or shooting, which you can always work on that. But his energy, he plays extremely hard. You can actually switch him on point guards, big men, two guards, forwards, any position. You can switch him 1 through 5, and I love his energy. He plays extremely hard.
Well, how have you seen him grow as a person? Because, I mean, you know him off the court too, like just your conversations with him. How have you seen him mature?
It's just revert back to when I was a senior, just to talk to the freshmen, because you've been through the program 4 years, and you know exactly what's going to happen from preseason to training to shoot around, anything that's going to happen in that program. He's seen it, and he's been through it. He's been in the tournament. So he's just doing the right thing. He's just leading those young guys. He's willing to do any and everything to win. And that's what I love about him.
Yeah. Hey, just to jump back again in time a little bit, I think Baylor fans would love to know more just about that first year under Scott Drew, which was your last year as a player. But, like you said, 6 scholarship players. What was that like? I mean, how difficult could that be just to keep your head up and everything? Any memories of a practice when things got intense or times when someone was really down? Like what sticks out about just that whole scenario?
It just goes back to preseason. So when we were in preseason, so we figured we have to be in tip-top shape, like I said before. So from preseason, the hard work that we put in, like a lot of people don't understand how hard we work to really just get in shape and to get in tip top shape. And just the practices were so intense to where a couple of guys will get into not scuffles, but a little pushing match and a wrestling match because we wanted it so bad. A lot of people wrote us off. So just the camaraderie that we had in the Hawaii trip, like I said, that really brought us together too, because we knew what we wanted to do. Because a lot of people say we wasn't going to win any game, and we won 3 Big 12 games.
Right, right. How was Harvey Thomas? Was he bought in and dialed in that year? Or I know he was a talented guy.
Harvey was an incredible basketball player. Like he was so talented. He was athletic. He could shoot. Yeah. He was a defensive stopper. Like Harvey Thomas, he was a monster. I really like Harvey Thomas.
Yeah.
Ashley. Yeah. So, as you look at the current team right now, how do you assess their chances to win it all? You know how hard it is to do that. And I mean, they're playing elite defense. My critique would be sometimes the ball's stopping a little bit too much and they need to probably get better ball movement at times. What do you think they need to work on to cut down the nets in April?
Our guards, two of the 4 guards have to play well. Like they have to, no matter what. And Matthew Meyer have to just give us anything he can give us. If he's giving us 10 plus points, 9 times out of 10 we're gonna win a lot of games. And I was disappointed when I found out Tristan Clark he left the team, because he was one of my favorite players too. Because his freshman year he kind of reminded me of Lawrence Roberts. Yeah. And so I was disappointed in that, but at the same time, I can understand. But I think Flo has to continue to play good basketball. And, of course, JT, he's one of them. Between him and Quincy AC and Rico Gathers, the way that they played the game, as hard as they played the game, JT, he's really going to be our X factor.
Yeah.
So if they can just play hard and our guards can just keep up doing what they do, we can cut down on the nets.
How have you seen? Jason likes to say this a lot, but players get better with more experience. I'm sure you're a lot better player at age 37 and 40, even though your body may be saying something different at times, but than you were at 22. And coaches also get better. Scott Drew is one of the elite coaches in college basketball right now. I mean, how have you seen him grow over the years? What have you noticed?
I noticed that he got out the zone. Usually we were playing the zone a lot. Right. And I think former players, when we, come around in the summertime and we talk over the social media, we always used to mention that, like, I just wish we can get out the zone just to play a little man-to-man. And these last few years, he's been playing man-to-man, and we look absolutely amazing in man-to-man this year.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's a great X's and O's guy. You notice coming out of the timeouts, we always got some quick hitters. And he's always been great at that.
Right. What about personally with Scott Drew? I mean, what kind of a factor has he played in your life, maybe away from the court? Any comments or stories on that? Or
always been supportive. Always asked me to come back and talk to the guys or come play or just give them some word of advice. He's always been supportive off the court. Just, you can always call him if he's not too busy, Coach, I wanted this situation. Or actually, when I just recently got my bachelor's degree, I went back to school and got my degree. And he told me, once I went back and got the degree, in the future, he'll see a spot for me on the coaching staff. And that was one of the things I really like to hear from him.
Right.
Wow. That's really neat. Everyone just talks about how positive he always is. And for him to be, his dad said something funny, it's like, and Ashley, I don't know if you remember this from the last podcast we had his dad on, so many people looked at that Baylor job at the time as like, oh, this horrible job. Like, why would anyone want to step into that? But his dad said, hey, that's the perfect job for Scott because he's just so positive. I mean, even during that tough year, was it always upbeat, never downtrodden at all?
Always had the same attitude. He always had the same attitude. And that's what a lot of people really respect about.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that's cool for me too is just to see the respect level that Baylor has nationally now. You know, they've gone from being a school that was kind of, I don't know, a punchline, I guess, to now. I mean, people know they think of Baylor totally differently. What have been your observations about that, about just the way people look at Baylor now?
I think it's about time, like from I want to say from like Robert Griffin days to how they used to respect us. And of course, the football team is a little down right now, but they always respected us as far as with football, and so and then girls basketball. But now they really know like it's Baylor is a powerhouse, and that's the way we want to keep it.
Did you sense when you played, like when you would go to opposing arenas or you would just play another team, that people didn't think much of Baylor? I mean, how could you tell?
Because we were Baylor, they figured like, who is Baylor? And we always had like semi-good years, but they never respected us on the road. They figured, okay, they'll probably be in the game a few minutes and then it'll be a blowout.
Right.
But now you can't say that anymore.
Yeah. It was kind of weird to watch Baylor actually dribble out the clock the other night on Kansas, when usually for so many years it was the exact opposite situation. So.
Right.
Who do you keep in touch with, former players or your guys that you just made relationships with at Baylor? I mean, who do you still talk to quite a bit?
Quite a bit. I always talk to FAU though. He's a great guy. Torian Prince, I contact him every now and then. Yep. Of course, Twitty Carter, who is my favorite point guard of all time in Baylor history to me. Scott Drew era, he's my favorite point guard. Tommy Swanson, Matt Saman, RT Gwynn every now and then. I know he's out the country, so just 4 or 5 guys. And then Mama do too. So
RT's still playing professional basketball, isn't he?
He's still playing.
Yeah, I saw something where he had like made well over 100 threes. I mean, he's almost a 3-point shooter only. It seems like he's popping threes left and right.
Right. And he can always step out there and shoot that three.
Right.
How good is your game right now? You still pretty salty on the court there?
I just I try to outthink my opponents now. I do a lot of icy hot, which is cool. I need to be sponsored by them, so I do a little icy hot. My wife, she'll give me a rub down, so I need that. But
are you in pretty good shape, or is that Houston barbecue calling your name quite a bit? When I go down there, I can't stay away from it,
Nah, actually, my wife and I, we started, because I was supposed to get married next year, so we started getting on a little diet and started working out, so my body's starting to come back into
Awesome.
Well, hey, Terrance, man, I think that's all we got for you. But I tell you what, I know Baylor fans, or especially the ones that are really in the know, really realize the role you played in helping set this culture. And everyone talks about Baylor's culture right now and how good it is. And I don't think it would have been possible without the guys that laid the groundwork. And I think you were the main one there with a few others. So thanks for your time, Ashley. Anything else?
No, I just want to say thank you. I mean, you've always been gracious with doing these interviews, and I always love seeing you in Waco. I guess my last question was maybe I asked it a little bit earlier, but I mean, you didn't get around them this year to play, pickup ball in the summer because of COVID. How what was that like? I mean, because every year you come back and you've been playing with them in the summertime. Was this the first year that you haven't been able to do that?
It has. It's been frustrating too, because I always like to pop in every now and then and show my face and just remind the young guys to look in the back of the gym at the old number 24 back there. You got to dust it off a little bit, but I miss the guys. I really miss the competition up there too.
Yeah.
Hey man, try to get down for a game, because I think a lot of people are staying away because of they feel like the atmosphere won't be great. But Ashley will tell you, it was rocking there Monday night for Kansas. I was shocked. I mean, how loud it was and energetic it was, despite just having the arena a quarter full. So, yeah, if you can make it down for one of these big ones, Texas Tech or West Virginia, whatever, everyone's going to want to see you back as always. So,
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks again. All right. For Ashley Hodge, I'm Jason King for the Sic'Em 365 podcast for the Field of 68 Network.